Hi there, my name is Ashley Watson. I'm the Voluntary Land Management Team Assistant with the Sheffield and Rotherham Wildlife Trust. And following on from Ben Keywood's video about insects that have come out from hibernation recently, I'm going to be following on from that and talking to you a little bit about bumblebees. Some of you might have noticed that the bumblebees are back out, particularly the large individuals that we see, much larger than some of the individuals we'll see in the later on in the summer, and that's because they're queens and they have just come out from hibernation. So these queens hatched last year, sort of late summertime. They would have mated last year as well, around the same time with the males, and they stored their sperm inside them throughout the winter, and they've been hibernating in an old nook or cranny somewhere, a crevice under some bark, something like that. And now the weather's warmed up, they've started to come out. And the first thing that they need to do is to find something to eat, to replenish their fat loss that they've lost throughout the winter, and also to get their ovaries working. And so the first thing they need to do is go find some flowering plants. That's one of the reasons why early flowering plants are really, really important to them. And then the second thing they need to do is look for somewhere to start a colony, a nest, a burrow. And I've had a couple of them already do it the last couple of days. I saw one this morning, and the kind of places where I generally see them in my garden, this is my very small urban garden, I generally see them buzz around, sort of around this area here at the base of this wall. There's lots of nooks and crannies, potential holes, ideal sites, particularly for a very common bumblebee, the buff-tailed bumblebee, is old moles nests, field voles nests, mice nests, that sort of thing. Sort of space down there. There we go. And once they found a suitable place to nest, some bumblebee species are quite happy to be under some loose-fitting moss, something like that. Once they found a suitable place, then she'll then go and collect some more food, and inside the burrow she'll create a nectar pot, and that's basically a food store for herself for when there's bad weather, and so she's still able to feed. And then she'll also create a pollen lump, so basically a lump of pollen within the burrow, and she'll lay her first set of eggs on that pollen, and the larvae will feed on that. And that's the beginning of her colony, really. She'll stay there and look after it. Once the workers have developed and hatched, looking after the nest and going out and foraging and providing food for both the queen and any other workers, that'll be the job of the workers. And they're the much smaller individuals that we see, and they're all female. And the queen's job then is to basically produce more workers, and she will do that. And depending on how good the food sources are locally, depending on the weather, a colony can be from, say, 50 to maybe even 150 individuals. And the queen will stay in the burrow mainly, and the workers will bring her food, and they'll keep the nest tidy, they'll rear the other workers and go out on foraging duties. Yeah, so then sort of come around sort of late summertime, once the queen's sperm reserves have run out usually, then males will be produced. So the next batch of larvae will turn into males and queens, and they will then hatch. They will leave the nest, and they will go and mate with other queens and males from other nests. And then the cycle has repeated itself, really. So once the males have mated with the queens, they will then die. They've served their purpose, and then the queens will do what the queens have been done this year. They'll go out and find somewhere to hibernate. Again, nooks and crannies, underground, bark under dead wood and stuff like that, and they'll hibernate over the winter with the sperm stored inside them, ready to do what our queens are doing this year when the weather is nice and warm. So yeah, so what's really important is to have some flowering plants that flower early on in the year for them, and to have a little bit of a messy garden where there's some maybe dead wood and such, and places for them to hibernate, but also make a burrow. So yeah, thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoy seeing all the bumblebees that are out at the moment.